3, 2, 1. Right here. 4 tires of fuel. Ride 1, 1, 1. Outside.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the final edition of the Forward Field podcast in 2020. It is our award show. We did it last year. We had an award show. Now, under the banner of Forward Field podcast, our 2020 NASCAR awards show. And we are joined again for the second time by special guest Dalton Good. Dalton, how's it going, man?
How's it going, guys? Thank you for having me back on again. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we love having you on. It was so fun the first time. We had to get you back on here and allow Wes to join in the conversation since he wasn't able to be here on your first appearance. And just nothing better to do to wrap up the season than having one of the bigger NASCAR fans on Twitter who isn't afraid to show his opinion. That's the best part. We love how you just do not care what the fans think. Mm-hmm. You say what you say, and you really hold to it.
Yep. The best Kyle Busch fan on Twitter to follow.
Obviously, and the number one Joey Logano hater on
That's
Twitter
right.
as well.
That's right. I'm not afraid to call him a little, you know what.
Now we gotta we'll save Steve for last. We'll talk to him last. But Wes, back on. How's it been over the break since the season ended?
And it's been pretty quiet for the most part. Besides work a little bit and just relax a little bit, I've been kind of just taking it easy. So definitely ready for, I think, 2021 to be here. Definitely ready for the new season. We've got a lot of snow coming tomorrow. I think we're supposed to get like 15 to 20 inches.
Lucky.
So we're definitely gonna have it in tomorrow. But that'll be a nice way to wrap off the new year, or wrap off this year, and kick into the new year. So. Definitely ready to move forward. Definitely ready for the new NASCAR season. We've got a lot of talk about for this season that we just went through. So definitely a wild one, to say the least.
And definitely, hopefully you aren't stuck at the airport, in the 15 to 20 inches of snow. That would not be ideal.
Yeah, we're hoping to hear the old cancellation at some point tomorrow. Got one down. Now we just are waiting on the other. So we'll have to wait and see. But until then, we'll be likely treading our way through the old snowy pass.
Now, speaking of snow, snow's white. There's white on Chase Elliott's car. And you see Steve over there his flag back there.
Already buying merch.
Already.
It looks like a new place too. What's the
it is.
What's the situation?
New place. Been here a couple weeks now, so I'm still kind of getting situated with everything. Got a couple things to put up. I got this old Jeff Gordon sign that I got to put up, and I got another Jeff Gordon flag that I got to put up. But for now, I had to break out the old Chase Elliott Championship. Since we're doing the end of the year, end of 2020, had to put up the old championship banner, just like Dalton's got with Kyle Busch. I just had to match. So I'm just. Well, unfortunately, Don couldn't put up a Denny Hamlin championship.
Ouch! Ouch!
But
you can put up a piece of tape if you want.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Just new place and just kind of getting settled in. But everything's been good, pretty good. Things just been like flying by. We've only been out of the season for like a month now, but it feels like it's been 6 months with how crazy this year has been, but definitely ready for next year to come around, and hopefully Chase Elliott can maybe go back to back. That's just what I'm hoping. But we'll focus on the end of this year first.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about 2021 and how he has 7 wins already on the calendar.
That's
but,
right.
Keep
putting road courses on there.
It wouldn't surprise me here if we go to Sonoma for the championship finale here in a couple of years. I mean, this rate, but he hasn't won there, so he's still got to prove himself at Sonoma. Martin Truex still got his, he's still ahead of him there, but like you said, don't worry about 2021. We'll get to that probably next month. We'll preview the season. Now, without further ado, I think we should just jump into the awards. We got a good list of awards to give out. we're all gonna, share our opinions on it. And if just a couple of us happen to agree on something, then we'll definitively give that person or the event the award. And just so you guys know, we don't know what each other have picked. So we could all agree on something, or we could all have 4 different answers for an award. We honestly don't know what we have said, So first one, we'll start driver of the year. I want to start with the truck series, just a little bit. I just want a quick little truck series. Steve, if you had to pick a driver in the truck series to get this award, who are you thinking?
Yeah, I think looking at the overall season, I would say that the guy that actually won the championship, Sheldon Creed, I think just start to finish, he, won a ton of stages, led a lot of laps, quite frankly, should have had more wins than he did, but we saw him, dominating us quite frequently. That we saw him win stage 1, stage 2, not always get the win, but at the end of the day, that team really put it together and, pulled off a great strategy, taking 4 tires at the end of that truck race in Phoenix and went on to win the championship. So that team was the most consistent. I'd say that Sheldon Creed was the driver of the year in the truck series.
And Wes?
I'm with Steve all the way here. I think Sheldon Creed definitely deserves the nod for the trucks. I mean, the first half of the year, he was able to capture a couple victories, and he wasn't really as consistent as he wanted to be, but he was up front leading the laps. And then we got to the playoffs, and you look at every single driver that was in the playoffs, and the only guy that we ever really talked about, even though he didn't win every single race, it was Sheldon Creed at the front every single weekend. He was performing when he needed to, and he got the championship in the end. Definitely a step up from last year. I think Sheldon Creed's made leaps and bounds of improvement over the year. So he's definitely the pick, I think, for the Truck Series Driver of the Year.
Dalton?
So I really didn't keep up with Truck Bucks this year, but I got to say Sheldon Creed, too. I feel like with the amount of wins he's got this year, the amount of top 5s, top 10s, and I feel like he's a deserving champion in my book. I'm still blown away from that final restart at Phoenix when he, all the way back to A, took 4 tires, just blew by everybody in one turn. So that was just very impressive to me. So I feel like Sheldon Creed deserves Driver of the Year for Truck Series in my book.
Yeah, I'll go. We'll make it a clean sweep. Sheldon Creed wins Driver of the Year. And honestly, if there was a most improved driver, it'd definitely be him too, I think, in the Truck Series. I mean, what he did just was amazing. It looked like he might have been a bust last year, and then this year he just comes out fires of blazing and just takes the Truck Series by storm. And at every track, really every type of track, he was up there competing. And he'd win the road course, he'd win the short track, win the 1.5 miles, just did it all and ended up getting the championship. Now we'll move into the Xfinity Series. Wes, who do you think? I think it's between 2 drivers, really, but which one are you going with?
I know Austin Cindric won the championship, but for me, it's got to be Chase Briscoe. Not just based off wins, but kind of in the way that he was able to capture those victories. That's always been something that stood out quite a bit, especially in this season. Last year was a very competitive season. Just kind of their program, kind of stepping their feet in the water still there in the Xfinity Series. But this year they came out guns blazing and made just some incredible steps up in the program. And Briscoe was able to get not only a lot of victories, but just take the headlines, I feel like, of even over a majority of the Cup Series drivers this year. I feel like Briscoe is definitely the driver that most people are excited to see step up and make this change here in the Cup Series. I think in recent memory, I can't remember a driver that more people have been excited about, especially in the past maybe 5 years, than a guy like Chase Briscoe. And not only that, he was able to capture, I believe, the most popular driver for the Xfinity Series this year. So definitely a strong season for Briscoe, a memorable one to say the least. Even without the championship, I think he can definitely carry that with him. And he's got a lot to look forward to, especially now in the Cup Series. I think that we're definitely going to have to keep an eye out for him.
Now, Dalton, before you make your pick, I know you're not going to pick this guy, obviously, not Riley Herbst, but I want you to just address the fans that I mean, I've still seen people on Twitter thinking you're a Riley Herbst fan. I mean, what's the deal with that?
All right, well, it happened after Kentucky when Austin Cindric won the Xfinity Series race there, and I'm not an Austin Cindric guy at all. I think he's kind of a douchebag, just like Joey Logano. So I kind of just went on Twitter, just share my frustrations about it, and I got a lot of Penske fans that thought, you're as bad as Riley Herbst lost. I'm like, who says I'm a Riley Herbst fan? And I just kept getting the replies, oh, you're a Riley Herbst fan, you're a Riley Herbst fan. I literally had to show everybody, somehow, some way, that I'm not a Riley Herbst fan. That laundry basket sitting behind me, I literally had to empty it and show all my freaking stuff to say, look at that, I'm not a Riley Herbst fan. I mean, I got a Monster Energy hat, that's it, but it's all Kyle Busch. So, and finally, he's with Stewart Haas Racing next year, so they can't call me a Riley Herbst fan anymore. Hallelujah. But now, as for Driver of the Year for Xfinity Series, gosh, I feel like we're going to have the same picks in each one of these. I can't say anybody else besides Chase Briscoe. You know, I didn't really care much for Chase Briscoe at first, but when Xfinity came back to Darlington after the COVID break, for him to go out there and just straight up beat Kyle Busch, like it was no fluke. They were battling the entire final 2 laps. They went at it. They were hitting the wall. It reminded me of the 2003 Darlington finish between Kurt Busch and Ricky Craven, and that it really, really impressed me. And of course, you know what all he went through that week with him and his wife having a miscarriage. And for him to go out there, overcome all that adversity, just beat Kyle Busch, my favorite driver. I'm like, you know what? I think this guy's something. I think he's going to be something in the Cup Series. It's just really unfortunate that he wasn't able to win the championship. I was pulling for him to win the championship. Of course, it didn't happen. But I'm really excited for Chase Briscoe coming to the 14 next season. I got to be honest, Stewart Haas Racing, they got to get better drivers. Like right now, it's just Kevin Harvick and 3 test cars. You know, and I feel like Chase Briscoe getting in there. I feel like I can see him getting some wins. I'm not going to say too many next season, but like maybe 1 to 2. But I can't wait to see what he can do in the 14 car next year in the Cup Series. But Chase Briscoe, undoubtedly Xfinity Driver of the Year.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm going to jump on board with that. Chase Briscoe, it's hard to deny. That guy wins 9 races. I mean, you really can't do too much. Austin Cindric's right behind him, but 9 wins after really not doing too much before this season. It's amazing. And, earn your ride, taking Tony Stewart's car. That is something else, and you definitely deserved it. Steve, are we making this a clean sweep?
We are. We're making a clean sweep. Chase Briscoe is definitely the guy all year, and it's not like the races that he won. He only led a couple laps. I mean, a lot of the races that he won out of the 9, I mean, were just pure domination, leading almost the entire race. So Chase Briscoe's really hard to root against. He's just a really likable guy, and a guy that you just feel good for when he wins. And it's cool from a fan's perspective, as someone who appreciated watching Tony Stewart race. And for him to be a Tony Stewart fan growing up and now to go into Tony Stewart's car, just kind of a full circle effect. And it's just really hard not to root for Chase Briscoe. So he was definitely the Xfinity driver.
All right, so Chase Briscoe. So Sheldon Creed, Chase Briscoe. I just have a feeling we're not going to get a clean sweep with the Cup guys, though. I think there's just too many contenders for this. Dalton, I'm going to let you start this one. Who do you have as Driver of the Year in the Cup Series?
As much as I don't like this guy, I got to give it to Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick just had a dominant season. I mean, there's no lying about that. If my memory's right, I think Kevin Harvick was the first driver to have 9 wins since Carl Edwards 2008, I believe. So it's been a while since someone's last done that. I mean, Kevin Harvick just had a very consistent season. He won pretty much everywhere we went to. And but I feel like the reason why Kevin Harvick was so good this year is just that without practice and qualifying this year, they're usually that team is usually very good at unloading right off the truck. Like back when we had practice, Kevin Harvick was always the fastest in practice, like right off the truck, like without having to make any changes or anything like that. And I think that really benefited them this season after we came back from the COVID break. And he got 9 wins this year. Once again, fell short of the championship. I mean, I'm not really a big Kevin Harvick fan, but there's no denying that he he was probably the best driver of the Cup Series, and I really don't think it's close.
Now, we're gonna have our first disagreement here. I'm gonna go with Denny Hamlin. Now, it's not as biased as you would think. One blown tire really separated the two guys. I mean, if Denny Hamlin doesn't blow a tire at Indy, they both have 8 wins.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think Denny Hamlin being able to compete with Kevin Harvick week in and week out, there were a few races there, honestly, if it wasn't for the package, I think Hamlin would have had him. Because once he would catch him at tracks like Pocono and Michigan, but just with the package being the package, you just couldn't pass. So I think Hamlin had the better season. I think Chris Gabehart legitimized himself like he wasn't already going into this year. I think this solidified him as a top elite crew chief in the Cup Series. And just that rivalry, I think Hamlin was able to, I guess, not really come up clutch because, I mean, they both struggled in the round of 8.
Mm-hmm.
But Hamlin was just able to just get the edge on Harvick in the last 2 races, and that was really it. He didn't fall apart or completely fall apart like Harvick did in that 4 team. Steve? Oh, yeah, Dalton?
I'm sorry. Like, I just wanted to add, like, I really don't think that's biased at all. I mean, if there was one guy all season that was close to competing with Kevin Harvick, it had to be Denny Hamlin. I just feel like Denny Hamlin just kind of lost his edge once the playoffs started. I feel like once the playoffs started, he really had nothing to show for it except for Talladega. Mm-hmm. But Denny Hamlin, I really don't think you're being biased at all. I mean, he was the only guy close to Kevin Harvick this season.
Mm-hmm. So, Steve.
Yeah, I would have to. I agree with both of you guys here on your points about Denny Hamlin, who I think is the driver of the year. Even though Kevin Harvick ended up with more wins, I think Denny Hamlin, start to finish, Daytona to Phoenix, was the more consistent guy. And it just, between plate tracks, which Denny Hamlin has solidified himself as one of the best plate drivers out there, but then you also have to watch out for him at the mile and a halves and the short tracks and the road courses. He's just good everywhere that the races go. And coming up with 7 wins, had an average finish inside the top 10 and only 1 DNF on the season. Even though he came up short of the championship, I think he just put together the most complete season, aside from being a couple wins short of Kevin Harvick, which Dom alluded to was just the package. Denny Hamlin easily could have had more wins than Harvick, but just the package prevents people from passing. So I think the driver of the year, when you boil it down over 36 races, was Denny Hamlin.
All right, Wes.
Yeah, for me this was tough, just as tough as it was for all 3 of you. I went Kevin Harvick. I stuck with Kevin Harvick for a couple reasons. The biggest was the fact that I thought was definitely the most consistent of the year. I feel like looking back through all of the races, we talked about him just a little bit more every single week than we did for Hamlin. But it was mainly, even though Harvick, they had a lot of close wins, I feel like we saw Harvick a little bit more often inside the top 5. And then a second thing with it too, with Kevin Harvick, is just one thing that's impressed me is the fact that he's been able to dominate, especially in the recent years with whatever package has been thrown at him. And not only that, but pretty much every single track, especially this late in his career, it almost, I don't want to say like a career resurgence, but we never saw this kind of dominance from Kevin Harvick the first, I guess, 8 or 9 years of his career. And now we're seeing pretty much one of the oldest guys in the field just absolutely decimate the entire competition. All these other guys that are coming in with just as much experience to get themselves into the top tier of NASCAR and be able to perform. So just all that kind of combined is one reason why I leaned Kevin Harvick. And the fact, that he had just been in front of the points lead pretty much all but 6 races this season. And that's the last 3, I think, were not counted because of the playoffs. So I think he would have had the lead pretty much the entire season except the first 3 races. So just incredible consistency. But it's hard to pick them, again, between him and Hamlin. I feel like their seasons can definitely be defined as equally good in many various ways. So props to both of them. Harvick's my pick though in the end.
Yeah, it's hard to pick, and it was so hard to pick. We split it right down the middle, so just have to give them both the award. Hamlin and Harvick, story of 2020. They both get Cup Driver of the Year. Now we go to Rookie of the Year. We'll leave this to the Cup Series. So, Steve, well, I'll start this one. I'm going. It was kind of hard because I felt like it was just like layers. I felt like the beginning of the season, it looked like Tyler Reddick was just going to run away with it. It looked like it was all Tyler Reddick. Then he get in that middle of the season in the summer, and it looked like Cole Custer was going to put his nose into it. And then he ended up winning, so he actually won the actual NASCAR Cup Series Rookie of the Year award, not the Foreign Field Podcast Rookie of the Year award. And then Christopher Bell really turned it on as they hit tracks the second time, and it looked like he really seemed to excel at the end of the season. And I think Christopher Bell was the Rookie of the Year. I think he was just decimated by an awful pit crew. I mean, that pit crew was atrocious. I'm sorry, Dalton, but I think if Christopher Bell had a normal pit crew, not a 20-second pit crew, he might have won Texas. I think.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's hard for me to pick Christopher Bell for Rookie of the Year because I just feel like he didn't have the equipment this season. I feel like next season is his real rookie season to me. He's got to be a better equipment. He stole my crew chief. So I guess we'll have to see what happens there. But for my Rookie of the Year, I think this is the guy who really should have won Rookie of the Year, Tyler Reddick. I feel like he was way more consistent all year long than Cole Custer and Christopher Bell combined. And again, like I said, Stewart-Haas Racing, all it is just Kevin Harvick and 3 other test cars, and Cole Custer's kind of one of them. I mean, Cole Custer honestly I just feel like was in the right place at the right time at Kentucky. But I feel like that win should have went to either Blaney, Harvick, or Truex. I mean, I know he still won. He's still the winner. Congratulations. I'm happy for him.
Mm-hmm.
But I just feel like Tyler Reddick was way more consistent than Cole Custer this year.
Mm-hmm. Steve, what are you thinking here?
I'm agreeing with Dalton here. I think Tyler Reddick was the real Rookie of the Year. I think Cole Custer only won it because he actually won a race and made the playoffs. Yep. So I think that's the only reason why. But I was really impressed with just the speed of RCR in general, and Tyler Reddick was a big factor of that. We didn't see that out of Daniel Hemrick when he was in the 8 car, but really seeing it out of Tyler Reddick and him at Homestead and then at Texas, some of these 1.5-mile tracks where you could run up on the wall, that fits Tyler Reddick's style, and he really showed that more than I feel Christopher Bell did. And Christopher Bell had a couple flashes of good runs, but I feel like Tyler Reddick, you saw him up front more, and so I think overall on the rookie class, I'd give it to Tyler Reddick.
All right.
No, for me too, I lean Tyler Reddick. I felt like out of all the rookies, he was the guy that not only we talked about a little bit more being up front, but I felt like he made the least amount of mistakes out of the rookie class. I feel like we saw Cole Custer, Quinn Houff, John Hunter Nemechek, Christopher Bell kind of get caught up in a lot of driver incidents that were of their own doing too, which kind of impacted their season. And granted, this was their first times, or their first season, I should say, running with this package. They didn't have the practice. But I felt like Reddick, when it came to showing up in terms of just everybody kind of being on a flat basis, I thought that Reddick did show up and was able to perform well. He showed really good speed at all the restrictor plates. Phoenix, until he had a blown tire early in the year. Homestead, he had a very, very winning capable car. Had a chance in Texas. So definitely Tyler Reddick was one to look out for. And I think now that with this season in the books, I think that it'll be good for him coming into a new season, especially with their team's momentum, kind of like Steve hinted at. RCR seems to be in a very, very positive direction right now. They closed the year excellent, especially with Austin Dillon's performance. And I think the team chemistry is just a little better than what it was maybe 3 or 4 years ago. So I would definitely look for Reddick to have an even better year next year, but all the rookies, now that they have some practice under the belt.
Tyler Reddick almost pointed his way into the playoffs too. Like leading up to the playoffs, you just saw him cut into that deficit a little bit, and he's just getting closer and closer and closer to that cut line. Unfortunately, didn't make it, but I think he was really, really peaking at the right time in the summer and almost made his way into the playoffs.
And one more thing I have to add for Tyler Reddick, we all know that Richard Childress Racing hasn't been good ever since Kevin Harvick left. That was kind of their downfall, and they've been struggling to find speed for years and years and years now. And I feel like Tyler Reddick is finally going to turn Richard Childress Racing around. I don't think in a big way, but I can see that they're finally going to start getting wins again. Finally start competing for wins. I mean, they're already competing for top 5s and top 10s. So I think Tyler Reddick could really bring a lot to that team here in the coming years. And that's another reason why I feel like he deserves Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, so it looks like Tyler Reddick takes a Rookie of the Year for 2020. Next year, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a pretty easy pick, considering right now there is only one rookie, I believe, as of right now, and that is Chase Briscoe. So we'll move on to the Most Improved Driver of the Year award, and I'll send that one to Steve to start us off.
Yeah, it was really hard I was thinking about this earlier and really couldn't think of a Cup driver that I'd say most improved. So I would look back at the Xfinity Series, and I actually went with Brandon Jones. Ended up with 3 wins on the year, made it pretty deep in the playoffs, and beat Kyle Busch at Phoenix in the Xfinity Series, which is like unheard of. And I think didn't make the Final Four, but I think had a real legitimate shot. And I think now getting another year in the Xfinity Series in the 19 car, I think he's going to be just as much up there, contending for wins. And with Chase Briscoe being gone, that's one less car that he's got to fight against. So most improved driver for me was Brandon Jones.
Wes.
Man, this one was tricky. I mean, you could definitely look in every series and find a driver that could get this award. But the guy I went with has been a veteran for a while, but I feel like a guy no one ever really talks about, and it's Michael McDowell. Michael McDowell had a very, very solid year. It was his best points finish throughout his entire tenure with or inside the Cup Series. He had been very, very consistent this year. I know from years past, we'd always talk about him at restrictor plates because he was always very, very consistent, running top 5, top 10 at almost every restrictor plate we went to, especially at Daytona. But funny enough, this was the only season, I think, in recent memory where he didn't have a top 10 at a restrictor plate. However, he did have 4 top 10s, and they all came at non-restrictor plates, which was very, very impressive to see. McDowell, I feel like the front row team has been able to step up a lot this year compared to years past. And he also almost doubled, I think, in top 20s from last year, which is a very, very strong, vision to see for that team, especially heading into another season or for him at least, staying in the same ride. And now they're being a little shuffle. I don't know if it'll change anything, but I think it'll be good for him in particular. So definitely a good season for Michael McDowell. And it was nice to see him be more competitive and up front and getting some of the coverage he deserves.
Dalton?
Yeah, this was tough for me too, but I think I went through every driver in my head, and this is kind of a last-minute answer for me. I think most improved driver of the year goes to Alex Bowman for me. And the reason why is because I was never sold on Alex Bowman back when he took over the 88. I always thought Alex Bowman was overrated. I really didn't think he deserved to be in a top cut ride. I know in 2016 when he subbed for Dale Jr., that he had a great run at Phoenix. Like, he got the pole and he led a lot of laps. And then they just go ahead and give him the 88 car for the next season. I'm like, honestly, I really don't think you could just go ahead and just give him a ride, like, just because of one good run. I feel like he's got a lot more to prove. And I just kept thinking he was overrated. And after his first win at Chicagoland last season, I still didn't really have high hopes on him either. And 2020, I expected the same. I didn't expect anything much from him, but he went out there and proved me wrong, I must say. At California, he had a dominant car besides Ryan Blaney. It was going to come down to either him or Ryan Blaney to win that race, and he went out there and dominated, led a good amount of laps, just went out there and won. So I'm like, well, you know what? Maybe this guy isn't so overrated after all. And but I was going to judge him in the playoffs. When he got there, I was wondering, okay, well, is he? He never made it out of the round of 12. So is he going to do it this year? And he actually did. I mean, well, I could go ahead and be honest with you. He definitely deserved the round of 8 spot more than Kyle Busch did. I'm just being honest. And he went out there. He made it to the round of 8. He ran pretty decent in the round of 8 too. But just not enough points to get himself into the championship 4. But I've changed my mind on Alex Bowman now. I feel like that's why he deserves Most Improved of the Year. He changed my mind on him. I don't think he's as bad as I used to think anymore. I can't wait to see what he does in the 48 car next season. I think I'm going to have a little bit more high expectations for him next year as well. I want to bump it up to 2 wins next season to see see if I can really be sold on him. But Alex Bowman, great job. You changed my mind this season, and you win Most Improved Driver of the Year.
We're going to have to agree with Dalton. Alex Bowman getting to the round of 8, that was huge. He did kind of fall off a cliff once they came back from the COVID break. He actually started off really well. He was lighting the world on fire. He was a couple top 5s. Then he just fell off a cliff. That one Charlotte race, I think it was the second Charlotte race, he finished like 20th, and that just set him back, and they just kind of felt they were nowhere to be found until the playoffs. And once those playoffs started, they started clicking again. And like Dalton said, that round of 8 performance from Alex Bowman was insane. If it wasn't for playoff points, he would have easily been in the championship 4. He had 3 top 10s in the round of 8, and that was just something none of the other guys did. So, Alex Bowman, he's going to have he's got some big shoes to fill in that 48 car. So he's going to have to get that thing back to victory lane. Still have not seen the 48 in victory lane in a points race since Dover in the spring of 2017. So Alex Bowman wins Most Improved Driver of the Year. Now we'll move on to the race of the year.
Ooh, this is going to be fun.
What was your best race of the year?
I have a very strong inclination that no one is going to pick what I picked. But my race of the year is actually the spring Martinsville race. For some reason I really enjoyed it. I feel like it's going back and watching it. It's one of those races that you see where there doesn't have to be a lot of cautions for it to show what racing is really about. I don't think there was a caution the last 100 or so laps in the race. I think there were a couple spans where they went like 100 laps without a caution, but it was still great racing. And we saw a lot of different guys up front that we didn't really talk about a lot this season. We saw Corey LaJoie and Jimmy Johnson both have instances where they were at the front of the field, kind of getting their TV coverage. We saw a great battle at the end between Bubba Wallace and Jimmy Johnson, which they were kind of the two that headlined a lot of the stories that we read about this year. That wasn't Ryan Newman. And besides that, we saw Martin Truex Jr. get his one and only win of the year. And I feel like that it was just a really solid race. I feel like it's one that's kind of overlooked because I think a lot of the times we just look at the finish of the race and then kind of rate it off that. But that was just a race that I really enjoyed, and especially looking back at it, I feel like that it's just kind of a very solid definition of what racing is. I
had to watch that race at Hooters this year. Yeah, my YouTube TV went out, and it was 2 hours before race time. I'm like, is it going to come back on? There's no signs of it coming back on. So I'm like, well, going to have to go to Buffalo Wild Wings. And I go to Buffalo Wild Wings. I sit down, I get a drink, and they don't have Fox Sports 1. And the race starts in 15 minutes. I'm like, I'm going to have to go somewhere else. Like, does anybody have Fox Sports 1? And I found a Hooters. I'm like, they got to have Fox Sports 1. I mean, they're a Chase Elliott sponsor. So I went over there, and they said they got Fox Sports 1. It was already on TV. I'm like, well, this is where I'm watching the race tonight. So you're welcome, Chase Elliott.
So, Dalton, what was your race of the year?
There were quite a few good races this year, but I got to say my favorite race of the year was the Bristol Spring Race. There's only one criticism I have to give to it. I wasn't there. That was the first Bristol race I have missed in 15 years. Or no, excuse me. 13 years. 13 years. Because of the COVID pandemic. And what really depressed me was that was, of all Bristol races to not be able to attend to, that was the worst one that you couldn't miss. Like, everybody had to be there. The weather was finally perfect. It would have been it would have had a good crowd if people were allowed in. But unfortunately, COVID had other plans. But I just really hate that it couldn't be there because of the finish we had. But Bristol, it was really weird watching it on TV. I'm used to watching Bristol like live. I go there both spring and night every single year. And I'm used to seeing all the battles all around the track that TV doesn't normally show. But I still saw some of that. I think Fox did a great job of their coverage in that race. And of course, my favorite part was the finish of that race too. Thank you, Chase Elliott, for taking my number one enemy out. I was mad at him a week before that because of some of his fans attacking me, and then he just shoots up in turn 3 and puts Logano on the wall. And I'm like, okay, you know what? You earned my respect back. So, and I thought that was real racing. Just going at it for the win. I want to see that every single week. I really hate that we don't get to see finishes like that every single week. I gotta say that's definitely race of the year for me.
Yeah, and those are two great races, but I think we got to take it all the way back to the beginning. I think the Daytona 500 was everything you could have wanted in a race. Obviously, we wouldn't be saying that if Ryan Newman didn't make it out of that race, but he did. So I think we can look at that as like a great race. Obviously, the rain wasn't great, but
that was depressing.
You get the President of the United States in, regardless of how you feel about him. You still get the president to, say the command. I mean, that's still a big, that's monumental for the sport. That's huge. Haven't had that done in a long time. So to get that to happen, get him to pace the field for a lap or two, and then get it started. 20 laps in, we rain out. We come back tomorrow and Monday, and then you get the crazy racing that you want to see in a Daytona 500. Everyone's going for broke. You see Ross Chastain fly into Ryan Preece, and then the big wreck with 2 to go. Then you get two, 3 lead changes on the final lap, and you get a photo finish, second closest Daytona 500 ever. So the race as a whole is just, it's everything you want out of a super speedway race, especially the Daytona 500. It's a race that can bring in new fans, because it starts off with the most exciting race, and as long as they keep doing that and keep putting on product like that, NASCAR should continue to be back on the rise like it has been this whole year. So, Steve, are we looking at a 4th different race, or are we looking at 4 different ones?
Fourth different one. So I kept it with the same. I love restrictor plate racing. And while I didn't choose the Daytona 500, I chose the first Talladega race, because just coming to the start-finish line, and not having a big wreck down in turn 1 and having the race end under caution, but to be coming to the start-finish line and you have just 3 wide through the entire pack, like, that is just great racing. And I feel like the super speedway package that they have now, it just produces such good plate racing. Mm-hmm. And if it wasn't for Ryan Blaney hooking right, Eric Jones would have won that race.
Would have made the playoffs.
He would have been in the playoffs.
And he did so well in the playoffs. Like, he probably could have made it almost in a round of 8. Yes,
he really could have. If it wasn't for Ryan Blaney just turning right on him. But yeah, it was just a great finish. Like, you love to see finishes like that, where they're just coming 3 wide and it just comes down, just nail biting to the end. And that was another close finish, within a couple thousandths of a second. So I have the first Talladega race as my favorite race of the year.
One thing I got to add for the first Talladega race, that was probably almost the most perfect super speedway race I've seen in a long, long time.
Yeah, it wasn't a big one.
No, well, not until the final lap. But they did a great job of running 3 wide without having any issues. And that's what I want to see. You know, I mean, I know a lot of people want to watch super speedway racings, you know, for the regs, but you know, it's not all about that. You know, if you run 3 wide the whole way around, no single file line, nothing like that, that's perfect for me. That's real racing right there. So almost a perfect super speedway race. You know, nobody got hurt. There were hardly any big ones. 3 wide racing from lap 1 to the final lap. I really couldn't ask for more than that one. And a photo finish as well.
Yeah. So you see where our minds were. We're split 50-50 on short tracks and super speedways, all 4 different tracks. So, you know, 4 different, they all get an award. No one took the cake there. Now, not just race of the year, but finish of the year. So this is finish. You throw out the first 99% of the race, and we just look at the finish. Dalton, what was the best finish of 2020?
I want to say Kentucky. For the second year in a row, Kentucky, not really a good race the whole first 266 laps, but just a good final lap. I attended the Kentucky race last year when Kurt and Kyle were going at it, and what I gotta say, you know, it wasn't really that good of a race like the whole way through. But then the final 2 laps, of course, is when things got crazy. Same thing this year, and I didn't expect it either because I thought for sure Kevin Harvick and Martin Truex Jr. were just going to run away from it. But then you get the late caution, a green-white checkered, and Cole Custer just comes out of nowhere and just steals it away from him. And I also like the really bold move that Ryan Blaney made, you know, going through the apron at Kentucky at the start-finish line. That's a very dangerous move because they got like a big bump out there, and once you hit it, you're going out of control. You're going straight up the racetrack and wiping somebody out. I thought that was really hard racing for the finish, and you know, for Cole Custer to finally run away from it, kind of made me happy because I really didn't want another Kevin Harvick or Denny Hamlin win. So it was good to see a good finish and someone very rare just stealing it away from him.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree. Kentucky, obviously, one of the worst races as a whole. If you just look at the races as a whole, one of the worst of the season. But that finish, I mean, you get 4 wide across the line coming to the white flag. I mean, you really can't ask for better than that at 1.5 miles. And, you know, they're beating and banging. And it just, that there's not much more to say. I mean, it's just Kentucky takes it for finish of the year. Steve?
Yep, I'm going Kentucky as well. It's hard to beat 4 wide coming to the white flag, and then Ryan Blaney hitting that bump and his car going airborne and then shooting straight for Kevin Harvick, and then Cole Custer just goes out and steals the win. So the first 99% of that race sucked. It was terrible racing, but the last 2 were really exciting to watch. So I got Kentucky.
Mine's going to be the only different one from everybody. And it's got to be between Kyle Busch and Chase Briscoe at Darlington, the first Darlington race in the Xfinity Series. I feel like that's like literally the quintessential finish for NASCAR, not just because it was, I mean, there wasn't 4 wide action, but it was literally some of the two of the best wheelmen in the sport at this point in time going at it for multiple laps and sliding back and forth, exchanging the lead, hitting each other, but not wrecking. And it was just absolutely ridiculous. Not only that, but at I guess what a lot of people would say is the hardest track in NASCAR. I mean, Darlington's absolutely incredible when it comes to just the wheel ability that you have to have there, and the fact that they were able to go side by side through so many different corners and not make contact, and then also make contact but keep it off the wall. It was incredible. And also just the storyline kind of going into that race with Briscoe, of course, and his wife having unfortunate circumstances the week before with miscarriage, and then with Kyle Busch, I don't think that was. I think that was kind of still early on in the season, so there was still a lot of talk with Kyle because he was fresh off the championship win. So just a lot going into that race, and seeing 2 of the best guys in the sport go at it like that was just absolutely incredible. So that was my pick for the finish of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so looks like not a clean sweep for Kentucky, but Cole Custer winning at Kentucky does ultimately take the award, but that definitely is a good finish. That both Darlington Xfinity races had great finishes. I mean, You have the one with Hamlin, Chastain, and Brandon Jones. That was also a great one. Definitely has to be mentioned. So we'll move on to drivers again. Upset winner of the year award. Wes, who do we got for the upset winner of the year?
I think I know what some of you fellows might pick, but mine's actually Sam Mayer when he was able to win at Bristol in the Truck Series. I don't think he had but one top 10 finish before that, driving for GMS through maybe 7 starts, and that was either 7th or 8th. And Brett Moffitt dominated the entire thing, and Mayer was kind of running somewhere between like 5th and 10th most of the night. And then somewhere out of nowhere, I mean, the young kid just comes out of nowhere, and he's able to get around everybody, and he wins the thing. He beats some of the best drivers in the Truck Series, like the Brett Moffitts and the Matt Craftons, the Grant Fingers, and even Sheldon Creed, the driver that we gave best truck driver of the year. And he was able to pull off an upset. So seeing the fact that he's coming to race a lot more in 2021, I think that he's a guy that we have to keep our eyes on. But just the fact that he was able to win at such a young age, but also not with a full-time schedule and not a lot of practice in the truck, it was incredible to see. So he was definitely my pick for the upset winner of the year.
Definitely an interesting one. I honestly wouldn't have thought of Sam Mayer. Now, Dalton, who is your pick for upset winner of the year?
I am going to go with William Byron at Daytona. So at first, I wasn't happy with the Daytona 500 or the Daytona 4th of July race being moved to the mid-season regular season finale. I'm still against it, but there's no denying that it put on a show, and I feel like that's a really great way to, in the regular season, like one last chance for somebody to make the playoffs. I'd still rather have it back on 4th of July, but anyway, that immediately just was a setup to have somebody make a last ditch effort to make the playoffs. At first, we thought it was going to be Jimmy Johnson. He had that race won almost, but got taken out late at the end of that. And then William Byron just surviving, being there at the end, being able to be there at the end of it can't even talk to compete for the win. I mean, that's what you got to do in super speedway racing. You got to survive. You got to be there at the final lap, and if you can do that, you got a shot to win. And William Byron was able to do that, get his first career win, and get himself a playoff spot. Of course, he didn't really have anything to show for it as soon as the playoffs started, but I feel like Daytona, being the regular season finale now, that's going to cause one of these more last-ditch efforts to make the playoffs, drivers having the opportunity to get their first career win. I think William Byron, I feel like he definitely had upset of the year.
Yeah, it's definitely a good pick. I'm going to lean towards maybe one that really not many people would think of either. Kurt Busch at Vegas. I think that was a big upset win. Honestly, no one saw that one coming, especially with maybe 30, 40 to go, and Kurt Busch is riding in 25th or somewhere. He's 15th, I think, actually. But he was not a threat at all. That race was really Denny Hamlin's to lose, and it ended up happening when Jimmy Johnson ended up having an issue, and they threw the caution out in the middle of green flag pit stops. Kurt Busch just happened to cycle out front. It was him and Matt DiBenedetto the last few restarts, and Kurt Busch really stole that win and really stole a spot in the round of 8. And it kind of, brought back some life for Kurt Busch, because honestly, he had been so quiet all year. Really, no one was talking about him. And then all of a sudden, it was like, wow, he might have a chance to make the championship 4 if he hits the lottery in the round of 8 and steals another win. Obviously, he didn't do that, but I think that race there was an upset win. First win at his home track, too. He's been going there so long to finally get that win. Definitely an emotional win for him. That was actually, I got to talk to Kurt that week after the race. That was really cool, too, if you want to check that out in my channel. So, Steve, we got 3 different. Are we going 4 different again, or you got another one?
Nope, we're going 4 different here. I got Austin Dillon at Texas. I know I brought this up earlier, but Austin Dillon in the beginning part of the season just I wasn't sold on it. But then slowly started getting better. Get top 10 here, top 10 there. I think really with the addition of Tyler Reddick, I think it helped not only Tyler Reddick, but it helped Austin Dillon as well. And seeing both RCR cars finish 1-2 at Texas, it was really an RCR upset. Not just Austin Dillon, but to get a win, not on fuel mileage, not on a restrictor plate, to just straight up beat the field and lead, more than the last lap. He led over 30 laps in that race. That was a huge upset. Didn't really do much with it in the playoffs, but as far as an upset, that was the one that really stood out to me the most this year, was Austin Dillon winning at Texas.
So again, we got 4 different winners. Got Sam Mayer, William Byron, Kurt Busch, and Austin Dillon. So no one could agree there. And now from upset winner to drivers getting upset and having heartbreak of the year, I'm going to start with Denny Hamlin at Indianapolis. Denny Hamlin has made it very clear that these crown jewel races are very important to him, and he's looking for those more than he is the championship. And the fact that Denny Hamlin had himself in the perfect spot to win the Brickyard 400 finally for the first time in his career, and to have it go all to smoke with a blown tire with under 10 to go was just heartbreaking. You could tell he was not all right. Like, he was just obviously physically and mentally just kind of shaken up. It was a hard hit. And the fact that he had the race won, they played the strategy just right, got him out ahead of Harvick. And to lose it like that was very heartbreaking for Denny Hamlin. And now he doesn't have a chance to really win that Brickyard 400 anymore. Obviously, it's on the road course, but I don't know how meaningful it'll be anymore, considering it's at the road course. And I don't think Denny Hamlin's really he's good at road courses, but he's definitely not a favorite at a road course. So I'm not sure he's going to have too many chances to win anymore at Indianapolis. So, Steve, who got the heartbreak for you this year?
Heartbreak for me this year as a whole was Jimmy Johnson. Not seeing him make the playoffs in his final full-time season, if it wasn't for him wrecking himself at Darlington and at the end of the first stage, which he was going to win that stage, and then getting disqualified in the Coca-Cola 600, and then that would have put him in a position where he didn't have to go into the regular season finale race at Daytona and pull off this miraculous finish where he ended up wrecking, not making the playoffs, and then it's just been a combination of the last couple of years. But it just really capped off 2020 for Jimmy Johnson, just not being able to get back to victory lane, and just those a couple of races and just mistakes here and there that kept him out of the playoffs, and he wouldn't have made it very far anyways. But it still would have been cool to see Jimmy Johnson make the playoffs in his final season. But it was really nice seeing him get a top 5 finish at Phoenix in the final race, and just kind of go out on as much of a high note as you could in these last 3 years, which have been really abysmal for him. So hopefully he can turn around in IndyCar and go win some races there. But as far as heartbreak for this year, it was Jimmy Johnson.
Wes?
For me, it came down to the championship race in the trucks. I thought Brett Moffitt had a very unfortunate situation because it looked like the championship was his. And I've been a Moffitt fan for many, many years, pretty much a full decade now. I've said forever that he's very underrated, not only that, but underappreciated. So to see his championship go, he only had a lap and a half left to get to the white flag. He had a pretty 3.5, 4-second lead, very, very comfortable out in front. And then you have a kid on the track that started a team with his father, turn right on the straightaway and cause an accident, as if for some reason he thought they were turning right on the straightaway, and handed it pretty much. And not only that, but Moffitt's crew chief kept him on the racetrack and didn't bring him in for tires. So, and on top of that, the fact that this was his last season with GMS, and they did not leave on good terms. So all of that together just is not a good taste for Brett Moffitt to finish this season in the trucks because. And another thing to add was the fact that he had come close so many times this year to getting a victory and only was able to score one win. And there were many instances where he was up front competing for the victory and something just didn't play out in his factors. So all these factors together, and then just for it to go up like that because of a team, just one car that shouldn't have probably been on the track, and it was over like that. So I feel like it had to go to Brett Moffitt.
Well, Dalton, are we we going 4 different people here?
Which Kyle Busch race hurt me the most? Oh my gosh, this was such a miserable year. Heartbreak for me. It's definitely Kyle Busch. It was definitely the Bristol night race this year. So Kyle Busch had a friggin' bullet that night, and he had to start at the back because he failed pre-race. And I attended this race. He flew through the field. I mean, he was passing cars left and right, and then got back in the field again because it got blocked on pit road by somebody. I think it was Suarez, and he had no problem, getting through traffic again. I mean, he was right back at the front. He took the lead. He won stage 2, and then some old douchebag in the 2022 car decided to. I should probably take it easy. He's got to put food on the table for his starving kid, even though he's a millionaire. We're coming down with 30 laps to go. Harvick had a fast car late in the race, and it always got better as the long runs came in. But Kyle got around him. He took advantage of the lap traffic, and then, like I said, the douchebag in the 22 car just he has to put food on the table because apparently he can't afford it, even though he makes about $10 million a year. Just has to block Kyle. I mean, he's already a lap down. He's not racing for anything. I mean, his race is over. So what's the point? Just get out of the way. Just had to put that out there, and then takes the win away from Kyle. And that was Kyle's last opportunity. Like, if he wanted to have a Tony Stewart 2011 chase or whatever, that race was his last chance to make something happen. Because how good he is at Bristol, and all it needs for Kyle is just one win. As soon as he gets that win, he's getting something started. Like, that's when his season begins. And I feel like, if he would have won that Bristol night race, who knows what would have happened. Maybe he would have had more motivation in the playoffs. Maybe he would have had a better strategy at Talladega to make sure he was there at the end to survive. And the same thing with the Roval, too. Mm-hmm. And he wouldn't be in the situation that he was in. So thanks, Joe Logano, for screwing my night race up and screwing Kyle's season pretty much. But just I hope you put food on the table for your children. That's all I got to say.
Well, Chase Elliott and Denny Hamlin fans all know too much about Joey Logano being in the way, laps down. I mean, he was 6, 7 laps down one time. I think it was 20. He might have
28 at Dover.
He was just staying in Denny Hamlin's way.
And it was for a stage.
Yeah, costing Denny Hamlin a stage win because he was 28 laps down, holding him up for no reason. And that got Denny Hamlin fueled up. And then the Chase Elliott stuff, that was more or less payback from the Bristol incident. So, I don't think Chase Elliott would have won that race either way. I think Denny Hamlin just had the better car in the long run. But it's still, Joey Logano doesn't make any friends on the racetrack. He doesn't want to.
He's nobody's friend for a reason.
Yeah. So we'll go from the heartbreaks of the year, and we'll go to crash of the year. I'm kind of interested to see what you guys got picking for this. Steve, what's got crash of the year for you?
Well, I got like a combo award. It's like crash of the year and bonehead of the year.
Oh no!
That goes to Quinn Half. Just the driver, the spotter, the whole Quinn Half team is to blame for this one. Just to be wrecked and then to turn left without even knowing that other cars are coming. And then that was Christopher Bell, right?
Yeah, it was.
And just killed his race. So that you can't make this up. Like stuff that you see on like the NASCAR heat games. You wouldn't see that in real life unless it was Quinn Half. So crash of the year, bonehead of the year, both same guy. It's going to be Quinn Half at Texas.
We haven't seen somebody do that since J.J. Ailey in 2006 at Charlotte.
Yeah.
And
Or
tried
Kevin
killing Mark Martin.
Or
Kevin
Kevin LePage at Talladega 2008.
Yeah, unbelievable.
And then he blames it on everybody else, like, well, they should have gotten out of the way. What?
So, well, if you haven't known already, Wes is right up the road from Quinn House, hometown. So
Not only that, but I work in Quinn House hometown.
So Wes, what wreck has got your eye?
Well, none of Quinn House. Really looking at his. No, it came down to some of the Indy crashes we saw this year, especially with the tire failures, but it looked like just visually the worst of the two that we saw between Hamlin and Jones was Jones.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the angle that he hit the wall, he hit it right at the corner. It made me think back to, I think it was last year when Landon Castle blew a tire. I don't know if it was in the same corner, but he hit it at almost the same kind of angle where it was more so on the exit of the corner, not kind of in the middle like Hamlin did. And very lucky for Jones to walk away from that. I feel like that was one of the heavier impacts that we saw this year, just because it's still at a very high speed on the track, even for an exit. And thank goodness for the safer barriers, but just a nasty impact for Jones, and the fact that he had some pretty bad luck this year. It just didn't seem like it was that things had really played into his factor too well. So unfortunate for Jones, but now let's hope that he has a little better luck in the 43.
You're asking too much there.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I mean, yeah, that's unfortunate for me too, but yeah.
Poor guy. But we'll see. No, hopefully no more blown tires, especially like that. That was ridiculous. It made me think back when we had the tire failure stuff going. I don't know what year it was, 2009?
2008.
They had the competition cautions every 10 laps.
The Goodyear blowout is what I call it.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, man. If tires blew out like they did at this Indy race or last year with Castle back in 2008, oh, man. I wouldn't have been surprised if we had injuries just because it was that bad. But luckily, everybody there. It was a pretty safe year for the most part. I think we're definitely blessed with the safety and the innovations that we've had in NASCAR over the years, just to be able to get to the point that we are now.
Mm-hmm. All right, Dalton. We're looking at a third different wreck.
Yeah. So my wreck of the year was Kurt Busch at Talladega in the fall race. It was just insane that how he went up in the air. I think it was Cole Custer just went right under him. Mm-hmm. And I got worried because I thought he was going to hit the catch fence or the flag stand. And I just want to know, the number one question I have is, what's going to happen if someone hits the catch fence during the race or the flag stand? What would happen? Yeah. Because, usually we get catch fences crashes, right at the end of it, so, it don't matter. Yeah. But I've always wanted to know, what will happen if someone hit the catch fence, during the race, and the race is, nowhere near over. What would they have to do and stuff like that? I don't know what they did to Bobby Allison when that happened to him back in the day in 1988, I think, or 1987. But that was just a massive wreck. Kurt went surfing that day, but luckily he was all right, and everybody else is all right as well. Clint Boyer just made a really stupid move by pushing Jimmy Johnson right at the spot where he shouldn't on that left rear panel and triangle, because you know what's going to happen once you do that. And Kurt just went surfing on everybody, flew in the air, but luckily he was all right. And lucky for him, he won at Vegas the week before, so he had nothing to worry about there. That didn't hurt him at all.
Now, I'm going to make this another 4 for 4, just 4 different wrecks. Looking at
Wendy's.
Yeah. We're looking at Ryan Preece at Kansas. I don't think we've seen a wreck that bad, or a car accelerating towards the inside wall like that since Eric McClure. And now Eric McClure wreck was atrocious. That was awful. It looked like he was picking up speed as he went into that inside wall. We almost saw the same thing with Ryan Preece, and even in the booth, Dale Jr. and Jeff Burton, they knew how bad it was going to be. They just saw it, and it was pretty cringeworthy to just, oh man, it's just a hard hit. It's coming. And the fact, Ryan Preece, I will say, he's not the best driver in the Cup Series, but he is one of the tougher ones because he was more mad than he was, just shaken up. He was just mad that it happened. He was having one of his better runs of the season, and then a wreck happens in front of him, and he gets thrown down into the inside wall.
I don't know what it is with Kansas and like bad wrecks lately. Like it's like ever since Kansas had that repave, there's been so many bad wrecks there lately. Like I think 2013 with Kyle Busch and Joey Logano, and then flash forward to I think there wasn't really a big wreck in 2014. Eric Almirola breaking us back in 2017, and later that fall, Eric Jones almost going airborne.
Yeah.
And I feel like there was some
William
of the trucks
Byron
in Xfinity.
in 2018 off of turn 4.
And in the Xfinity race this year, too, with Justin Allgaier making a stupid move by going on the apron, heading into the corner, just wiping out everybody. And who was that flipped? Was it
Anthony Alfredo?
Anthony Alfredo, yeah. that was a stupid move. Yeah, Kansas, I don't know what it is with them having bad wrecks this year, but it feels like the Talladega mile and a halves.
Mm-hmm. Now, so 4 different guys getting that award.
No Newman.
Nah.
No Newman.
Too scary.
Yeah, unfortunate. Poor guy.
Yeah.
Now, Steve, I'm going to let you start with this one. Rivalry of the year. What is it? I mean, is it Chase Elliott with everybody?
I wouldn't say with everybody, and it wasn't a rivalry that lasted all season. But coming back from COVID break and that Wednesday night Darlington race,
I'm sorry.
that rivalry, it only lasted a couple weeks, and it was more between the Chase fans and Kyle Busch fans. It wasn't between the drivers, but it was the fan base on Twitter that were just going at each other. And
I'm guilty.
Kyle Busch, was trying to get up in front of Kevin Harvick, just mistimed it, wiped out Chase Elliott. He didn't hook him on purpose. And, when Chase got out of the car, flipped him the bird, that lit up social media for a couple weeks. And then just Chase and Kyle Busch fans were going back and forth. And that's what we need more in NASCAR. Like Kyle Busch, and I'm sure some people are going to hate me for saying this, but Kyle Busch in ways reminds me of Dale Earnhardt. The way you don't want to see Dale Earnhardt in the mirror, you don't want to see Kyle Busch in the mirror. And Kyle Busch just doesn't care what he says, along with Earnhardt, and he's just not a guy you want to mess with. And Chase, in ways, being the most popular driver, and his dad Bill being the most popular driver. So it was kind of in resemblance to, the 80s between, even though Bill Elliott and Dale Earnhardt had a good friendship, just that battle of Chase and Kyle Busch after Darlington between the fan base was probably the rivalry of the year for me. And I was a part for a little bit until I watched the replay. It's just a racing move at that point, so...
I was involved in that.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember that night. I remember as soon as Kyle Ray chased out, I'm like, oh, no. And I knew right away it was Kyle's fault. So, and of course, you guys know me. I'm the biggest loudmouth on Twitter. But as soon as that happened, I said, you know what? I'm just going to log off for the night. I really don't have anything to say. So I knew it was Kyle's fault. So I'm like, you know what? You guys can go ahead and be mad. I'm getting out. And then I had this one Chase Elliott fan just start tagging me in everything. Say, hey, dog, F your driver, F you. I hope you died in a plane crash. I'm like, well, I'm not driving the car. Go yell at Kyle. Why are you yelling at me? And then he just kept going on and on and on and on. And him and I were good buds, for 2 years. And I'm like, you know what? Screw you. I just had to hit that block button. And then it kept going on and on and on with me and other Chase Elliott fans. And I'm like, guys, you're blaming the wrong guy here. But Kyle and Chase Elliott rivalry, brought back those Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt vibes for a little while. The drivers still respect each other, which is good, but it's just a fan base rivalry that had the Earnhardt and Jeff Gordon rivalry going, and same thing with Chase Elliott and Kyle Busch. Of course, it was like that with Kyle and Dale Jr. as well. But that's actually not my rivalry of the year. This one is going to be a little surprising. And no drivers are involved in this. My rivalry of the year is yours truly versus TJ Majors, spotter of Joey Logano. So for those of you that don't know, story time. So this was after Joey Logano's Kansas win. So you know how I get when Joey Logano wins, and I got a lot of people making fun of me. I replied to this one guy who was making fun of me, saying, "Imagine liking Joey Logano." And now, the Door Bumper Clear podcast, I've never been a fan of it, and I'm not saying this because TJ called me out, but I just always preferred the Dale Jr. download more than Door Bumper Clear. I just thought, Brett Griffin and TJ Majors were a bunch of drunken hillbillies that cheat on their wives, just talk about nothing they know. So I'm like, I'm not really interested. And I came home from work the Monday after the Kansas race, and I get a tweet notification from one of my followers saying, "Hey, Dawn, you were on Door Bumper Clear." I'm like, "What do you mean?" And apparently they got a segment to where TJ reads mean tweets, and he decides if he wants to block or forgive or whatever. And he reads one of my tweets saying, "Imagine liking Joey Logano." And he spends about 2 minutes getting triggered over it. Like, it got under his skin, let me tell you. All because I tweeted, "Imagine liking Joey Logano." TJ, if that really offended you, you should scroll through my entire profile. And then, if you really got that thin skin, oh my gosh, dude, you ain't seen nothing yet. So I got to give a good shout out to TJ Majors. I just want to say thank you for getting my name out there, getting me more followers than you. Just putting my name out there, making me more famous. Really applaud you there. Yeah, I know you got an office full of championships or checker flags and trophies, but Kyle's got 56 trophies and checker flags in his office and 2 championship trophies. You haven't been with Joey Logano then your entire career or for that long, so yeah, just had to thank you for that.
Now, Wes, are we looking at a third different one?
Yeah, I think we might. Yeah, I thought we saw Noah Gragson rally up a few feathers there in the Xfinity Series.
Definitely did.
And I like Noah Gragson. I think he's a cool guy, and I think he stays true to himself. And I don't think there's anything wrong with kind of what he does. It kind of makes me think of Kyle Busch in some ways, and then some other drivers all kind of mixed in. But he's still a little goofy and kind of funny. He's still relatable because he's kind of around all of our age. So. But the one that caught my eye was not Harrison Burton, but it was the one with Myatt Snider. And I say that because I feel like that one still has not been settled. And a big reason with that was because Myatt Snider drove for underfunded teams pretty much the entire second half of the season. And after the Pocono incident that they had, we never really saw them really race against each other on the track. So I think going into 2021, I feel like that's one feud that has not yet to be settled. And I think that there's a chance because they've had on-track incidents. We might see one go possibly off. Now that Myatt's, of course, going full-time with RCR, Noah's having his third year there with Junior Motorsports. I think the one with Harrison was just probably, I wouldn't say one and done. It could definitely happen again because they're both going to be top of the series when it comes to next season. But I wouldn't be surprised just from where it was left off between Myatt and Noah, and the way that kind of went down this year too. That was my rivalry of the year.
I think they've always hated each other. Like, I remember a couple years ago, Noah would always tweet something about like Myatt Snider and how much he doesn't like him. Like, I think someone said I might be wrong, but like I think someone said a question about like someone they don't like or whatever, and Noah replied like with something with Myatt Snider. So I think that rivalry's been going on for a long time. Ever since both of them drove for KBM, I feel like. But those two really do not like each other. Like, Noah Gragson straight up hates Myatt Snider.
Now here we go. It's probably going to keep going. And also, shout out to Austin Dillon for quite possibly the greatest commentary of all time. He killed me. Oh my gosh, he killed me because I guess in the booth they're not supposed to be biased, or they're not supposed to express whether or not a driver spins somebody on purpose. And then you have Austin literally tearing to Noah, which is so funny. Shout out to Austin. That literally that might have been my highlight of the year. Just the way Austin said it. It's so funny. I would definitely recommend going back and watching that one when it happened at Vegas.
So I'm gonna have to make it 4 for 4 again, and another Wendy's 4 for 4, and I'm gonna go with Hamlin and Harvick. I think it wasn't really the rivalry you think of. It's not like they got into each other or anything, but it was just that rivalry of trying to be better than the other team every week, and just the respect they had for each other. Rodney Childers and Chris Gabehart had a great relationship. They, you could tell when Hamlin had the tire issue at Indy that Rodney Childers kind of felt bad. He knew, he's like, wow, that's just a loss for them. They got us beat and they should have won. And they always talked highly of each other. They never talked down on each other. They never raced, any different around each other. It was just hard racing between the two, and they dominated the sport in 2020. And it's a battle that could keep going on. We saw a preview of it last year in New Hampshire. And now I'd certainly expect to see it keep going next year. I don't see why, with the same package and same rules and stuff, that they should really fall off. They should still really be in the top of the field, and I could see this going on. So not really the traditional rivalry you're thinking of, but definitely a good one, showing that both teams had the respect for each other. So we're getting down into our final awards. We've got 3 awards left. We're going to go from rivalries to single performances of the year. Wes, who had the best performance in 2020?
Man, that's tough. And I actually didn't have one picked. That was one I forgot about. But I feel like thinking back through, there were a lot that were really, really impressive. You look at some of the Pocono performances from Hamlin and Harvick. You look at Chase Briscoe's, as Steve mentioned way earlier in the podcast, with his dominant runs and performances in some of those races. Chase Elliott, the road courses, Austin Cindric as well. But I think the single-handed performance that I kind of remember being pretty dominant was Sheldon Creed at Texas, and that came in the playoff run. That was one of the races that I know he really wanted to win, and I felt like that was kind of what projected him into becoming that championship winning threat that he was and ended up getting at the end of the season. So I feel like that was a turning point. We saw Sheldon Creed just absolutely dominate the field, and even with late cautions and various cautions throughout the race, pinning them all together, he was able to just get back out to just an enormous lead within literally a lap on the track, and then and just pull off from there. Austin Hill had a little challenge, I think, at the end of the race, but besides that, it was nothing to match what Sheldon Creed was able to do during that race. So for me, that performance, from what I remember, was just incredible, especially just for the stakes, and at that stage in the championship. I think, and then Chase Elliott too. I think that's a good one if you want to look in the Cup Series at Phoenix. I mean, granted the racing was pretty solid, but that team, I mean, came from last to win the race and just dominate the way that they did over everybody else. They were just a step ahead of the game and were able to execute. So those two, I know I was supposed to only give one, but those two in my mind were two of the more impressive of the entire year.
Dalton?
So a lot of people aren't going to expect me to say this, I guess, or they're not going to think of this one. I want to say single best performance of the season was Ryan Blaney at Talladega in the spring. So if I remember during that race that Ryan Blaney, along with the other Penske drivers, Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski, they were just flat out unstoppable that entire race. I don't think there were that many lead changes. I got to kind of have to go back and make sure, but I remember that you just could not pass Ryan Blaney, Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano the entire race. No matter who you hooked up with, no matter which teammate you were hooking up with or whatever, like you just couldn't pass them. I remember Kyle and Ricky Stenhouse were working together, and they're not even teammates. They were up there, pushing as hard as they can to try to get around the Penske cars, and you just couldn't. It kind of reminded me of Talladega 2018 when the Stewart-Haas racing cars just ran away with it, like both spring and fall. They just got out to like a huge lead. Nobody could catch them. Not even the pack could catch them. And I feel like the same thing happened at the Talladega spring race with Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, and Brad Keselowski. They were just impossible to pass. They did a great job working together. But, of course, if you drive a Ford, you got a good shot to win one of the super speed races because, you got straight bumpers. It's easy to push. that's not the case with Toyotas and Chevrolets. So it's every year we go to a super speedway race, it's always like the 4 drivers that are going to be up there winning it, and it's usually Team Penske and Ryan Blaney, very unstoppable driver at Talladega. I pick him to win every time I go to Talladega. So yeah, I got to give performance of the year to Ryan Blaney or Team Penske in general at the Talladega Spring.
All right, Steve, we're looking at 3 different ones.
Yep, we are. Going off of a single race, Chase Elliott at the playoff Martinsville race, actually where this picture was here on the flag. Going into that race and needing a good run, basically to win, to solidify his spot in the final championship race. And to do that, he'd been so close at Martinsville for so many years. Couldn't get it done. Didn't get it done in 2017. In that race, and there had been a couple other times where he's been really close, but hadn't done it. And this was just kind of like, a walk-off, bottom of the 9th home run, and to be able to do that, that just gave all the momentum to Chase Elliott going into Phoenix, and to know that they can actually, put a complete race together to actually be clutch and not crumble in clutch situations. That was just an amazing performance from the entire 9 team, and ultimately propelled them into Phoenix, where they went on and win the championship.
All right, well, we're not going to have a 4 for 4 this time. I am going to agree with Steve. Chase Elliott at Martinsville, the whole team, they just stepped it up, must-win situation, and the Jackman really saved the season. Yep. The Jackman saves the season by knowing the rules, unlike 99% of everyone that was watching, knowing that you could reset the penalty for jumping over the wall too soon. And then Chase Elliott to, fight through bad pit stops to get right back to the lead. Granted, I wanted to see him and Truex battle it out, but Truex had the loose wheel, had to come back in with 25 to go. Didn't have a chance to win. But Chase Elliott won when it mattered and did it again the next week. He performed at the right time, and that's just what separated him from Denny Hamlin and Kevin Harvick this year. Chase Elliott performed at the right time. That's just what got him the championship. You see this in all sports. You got to perform at the right time. Doesn't matter what you do for so many races. If you don't perform at the right time, Kevin Harvick did not perform after his win at Bristol. Kevin Harvick, after that win at Bristol, just fell off a cliff. He was nowhere near the front other than the Kansas race. The Kansas race was the one outlier where, he probably should have won, but the package just prevented him from passing Logano. But at Texas, you can blame the rain a little bit, for him hitting the wall, but still there was 37 other guys out in the track. They didn't hit the wall. And at Martinsville, they just completely, Kevin Harvick's not known for being great at Martinsville, but to be that off in a race that, make or break your season, all he needed was one stage point in either races, in Texas or Martinsville, and he couldn't do it. So Chase Elliott stepped up to the plate when it mattered, and that's why he was the champion this year. So Chase Elliott's going to get the award for Performance of the Year. And now we'll get into a favorite laugh. What was the funniest moment of 2020? Dalton, I'm going to let you start this one.
I thought it was Kyle Busch giving the good old middle finger to Joey Logano in the Daytona 500. So I attended the first 10% of the Daytona 500 this year. Raid ruined my plans to go back. If we would start at 1 o'clock, I could have went back, but Fox got to start late, I guess. But so I ended up having to watch the rest of the Daytona 500 at NBC Sports Bar in Orlando, Universal Orlando Studios, in the amusement park. So we went back. My flight left at 10 o'clock that night, and I rode rides for 6 hours, and I said, okay, at 3 o'clock, I'm going to the bar. I'm going to watch the rest of the 500. I'm staying there. And, of course, I was screaming in the bar, cheering for Kyle Busch to go win the thing. He was 18 laps away, and then the engine just lets go. And I remember flipping off the TV a couple times because Logano tried to wreck Kyle like I don't know how many times before the engine let go. It just made me so mad. And the engine blew. I'm sitting all over the bar, just depressed. I'm ordering drinks already, and then I get on Twitter. I get a notification from one of my followers, and he took a picture. He caught Kyle Busch on camera, flipping Joey off as his motor blows up. Like as soon as the engine blows, Kyle's dropping back. He just sticks it out at Joey Logano, and then my mood went from depressed to happy just like that. And so I took the picture. It wasn't mine. It was someone else's. I took the picture and I just tweeted it out there, and it blew up right away. I was up to 1,000 likes in about 5 minutes, and then I had Dave Portnoy from Barstool Sports retweet it too. That's how famous it got. But I got to thank Kyle for flipping Joey off. He deserved it. I thought that was the best moment of 2020. That made me laugh. It made NASCAR Twitter laugh pretty much too. So that's the best funny moment I could come up with.
I think for me, we got to take it into the iRacing days. You know, during COVID, I think you look at the Pro Invitational Series. I think Talladega for the Pro Invitational Series was just so funny. So you got two different instances. You got Jeff Gordon racing again, and then next thing you know, Jeff Gordon just upside down in the catchphrase, and Clint Boyer is cheering on for it. And then next thing you know, Clint Boyer is just blowing up. He overheated the car and blew up. He's just screaming and yelling. Jeff is cheering. It was so funny to watch that. And then I'm sitting there, I'm watching Denny Hamlin stream on Twitch. And next thing you know, he's just like, guys, my screen went black. And he's just swerving all over the place. And then finally he's just done. And then after the race, Denny Hamlin says, well, I'm pretty disappointed. Screen went black, and it looked like Taylor just turned the TV off on me, and they couldn't figure that out because there's so many universal remotes in his house that I guess she wanted his attention and just turned the TV right off on him. And then the week after, before the race, he took a video of him collecting all the remotes and then just throwing them up in the ceiling.
Well, first of all, why do you have that many remotes in your house? How many TVs do you got?
Hey, man, some of these drivers, man, their houses are insane.
I mean, do you really need that many, though? Like,
I mean, Denny Hamlin's got his first Daytona 500 winning car just, in his living room. They go to town with these houses, man. It's insane. I would love to just take a trip into one of these guys' houses because, man, it's a lot. Look, it's just a whole mansion. Now, Steve, what was making you laugh this year?
Yeah, the one you actually brought it up was Clint Boyer at the Pro Invitational Talladega race, and it was more so of Larry Mack kept trying to tell him, "All right, you need to pit, you need to pit," and Clint Boyer was, his temps were getting. And then he blew up, and he's like, "Oh no, what happened?" And Larry Mack, "Well, you should have listened to what the hell I was trying to tell you." So that was, man, Clint Boyer's going to be so much fun to watch in the booth.
Oh yeah,
finally, yes.
Like full time with Gordon, and we're not going to have that DW. DW always, tried to make it seem like he was right. It's just never funny, and especially when Gordon got in there, it's just never funny. But now that you get a complete comedian with Boyer, and I think Fox is going to have a lot better season, I'm hoping, this year. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, Clint Boyer, when you hear, when you think of something funny, it's Clint Boyer for sure.
Oh, yeah. Wes?
Oh, I couldn't go the podcast without bringing up my man, Clint Boyer. It was easily, for me, that I thought about that all day, man. I love Clint Boyer. He brings so much joy. I feel like he was always kind of the face that was always kind of underappreciated. Still like a guy that's been in the sport for as long as he has, that has done as well as he has over the years. I feel like he's just still never got the attention, but he stays true to himself. He's just a hilarious kind of country guy and sticks to his roots, but he always puts a smile on your face no matter who you are. The entertainment that he brought at Talladega was just on another level, as you all mentioned. So it'll be great, like Steve mentioned, see him in the booth. I can't be happy. I mean, those two of my favorite drivers. all time are literally in the booth together. So it's going to be a lot of fun to be able to see them kind of interact, and Mike Joy have to put up with their nonsense for probably who knows how many years until he retires. So it'll be a lot of fun. I think that Boyer definitely put a lot of smiles on our faces, and it's crazy to think that he's gone. We lost him, Kenseth, and Johnson all pretty much simultaneously. Well, we did lose them all simultaneously, but yeah, it was definitely not the year Boyer wanted, but when it came to iRacing, he definitely made sure to keep us all entertained.
The Boyer really kept the whole time, getting bubbled at Bristol, and then Larry Mack, I think it was also at Bristol or Larry Mack. Clint Boyer trying to ask, hey, Larry, what do we do? We pitting here? He's like, I don't know. Don't come down. I'm mean nice. He's just sitting there with his popsicle. It's gonna be so good on Fox if they just give me a good ticker. Just give me a good ticker, and then they'll be all right. Because that's
2006.
Honestly, yeah. Man, just it'll be perfect. So Clint Boyer, Talladega Pro Invitational Series takes the funniest moment of the season, and this takes us into our final award, the best moment of the NASCAR 2020 season. I'm gonna let Dalton kick us off.
Best moment of the 2020 season. I think you're gonna have to come back to me. I'm still trying to figure that out.
All right, Wes.
Man, it was tough. I feel like a few you can go with. But for me personally, it has to be everything that happened at Talladega back when we were near the beginning of the year with Bubba Wallace. Political or not, I'm not trying to make a point, but it's always a great day, no matter what the situation is, when everybody can come together. And everybody came together that day. And it was not only special for that, but at the end we saw Ryan Blaney win, and Bubba Wallace is his best friend. So giving a shout out to Bubba Wallace, that's something that I know was meaningful for both of them as a relationship. And Bubba also had a shot to win that thing. There was a chance where he was up front and he had a good car. So just seeing everybody in the sport come together, uniting, standing up for just kind of some of the injustice in our country, I think was really special. And it's something that I feel like we need because, the sport has definitely seen some lows and some highs in the past few years, and especially this year with COVID going on. It just kind of seemed like everything was kind of going downhill at the beginning of the season. And then everything that happened with Bubba, and then all of a sudden we all came together. And it was just definitely a powerful moment. And I think that definitely kind of changed the course for NASCAR, especially in the future years, because I think we're, especially for us fans, like we've got a lot to look forward to. So I can't wait to see now what's gonna come for future seasons.
Steve.
I've been waiting. I've been holding off on this all night. Chase Elliott winning the championship.
Oh my
I
God.
knew it.
I'm gonna be 100% biased here. I had to get the night that he won the championship. I had to buy that. I had to buy this T-shirt. I was 2 years old when Jeff Gordon won his 4th championship, so I never got to experience that. But to be able to see your favorite driver actually win the championship is just crazy feeling. Like, growing up as a Minnesota Twins fan and just a Minnesota sports fan and an Atlanta Falcons fan, like, you're just used to just getting your heart ripped out. Like, I had nothing to look forward to. And quite honestly, going into the Phoenix race, I was like, man, Danny Hamlin's going to be really good. Brad Keselowski's going to be really good. Joey Logano's won here a couple of times. Like, I just, I was preparing myself for something to go wrong or, the jack to fall on the last pit stop. But for it to finally come together and to win, that was just, I had to work that day too. Like, to top it all off, I was like, man, I wonder who won the championship. I went back, I saw Chase Elliott won. I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Oh, you really missed it.
I really missed it.
Oh my gosh, dude.
I really had to go back and watch the replay of the race.
That would suck.
I was never going to win a championship again.
Exactly.
Well, I guess that's why you won. You didn't watch.
That's right. So if I'd watched, probably would have lost. But
So don't watch for 10 more years and win.
that's right. I'll never watch a NASCAR race again.
Gosh. you gotta go. I hope you get to go watch him win a championship somewhere live, like in person, like I did in 2015, because that was it. Such a special feeling. I want everybody to witness that feeling. I don't care who your favorite driver is. I think everybody needs to experience their favorite driver winning a championship somewhere.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm still searching. Like Steve said, I was also 2 when Jeff Gordon won his final championship. So, I did not, have any recollection of that. And I thought, well, no, after last year, maybe this year it's Denny Hamlin's year, and it wasn't. And we'll go. Well, we're 0 for 17 now, looking for 1 for 18 next year, and maybe seeing my favorite driver win a championship. I have seen Jeff Gordon and Denny Hamlin win in person, so that kind of lessens the sting a little bit. And I have seen the Giants and the Yankees win their championships in their respective leagues, so that is also very comforting at times. But
hey, if it makes you feel any better, watching Gordon's was not the most ideal because he did not go out on top, and Robbie Gordon did not want that to happen. I'm just saying, I was from what I remember, I was more salty than I was happy. And so maybe that's a good thing you missed, because it was not the end to a season you would hope for.
But for my moment of the year this year, I'm going to go with the first laps back at Darlington. Not because Ricky Stenhouse wrecked. Just getting back on the track and the way NASCAR was able to pull everyone together to get the season back going, and not once was a race postponed or moved due to COVID, was absolutely miraculous what they did. And to get fans back, the first sport to really get fans back in, to have up to just under 30,000 people at the All-Star race, including Dalton, Wes, and myself. Yep. Just what NASCAR did this whole year. Just those first laps at Darlington are unlike others, because you get those laps after almost 2 months of just nothing. I mean, you're just sitting there in your house quarantined for 2 months, and you finally get to watch NASCAR again, live NASCAR again, to maybe get your hopes back up and get back to some normalcy. Mm-hmm. I just think that was hard to beat this year, and just getting back on the track at Darlington was definitely the best moment of the year for NASCAR. So Dalton, we're taking it back to you to wrap this one up.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm going to agree with you there. NASCAR being the first sport to come back. So March was just a depressing time for us all. When this whole thing began, I mean, I know COVID was going around like the start of the year through March, but literally none of us thought that it was going to be this bad. Like, we literally thought nothing was going to get canceled. Like, I just feel like every election year, like, we get some kind of virus from somewhere and they hype it up for the whole year, and then once the year ends, it's forgotten about. You never hear from it again. And that's what I thought. So they were talking about, the virus coming in to the U.S. soon, and I'm like, it's not going to do anything. And then Adam Stern starts, report, and Bob Hocker start reporting tweets about, like, NASCAR is going to monitor the COVID situation very closely. I'm like, y'all are just being scared at this point. And then it all got started when the NBA shut down. That's when you're like, whoa, what's going on? And then you had every other sport follow. Like, the NBA shutting down was like the domino effect. Like, once they shut down, everybody else was going to. And, obviously NASCAR is different from all sports, like baseball, basketball, football. And I was thinking, maybe we'll be okay. I don't know. But, like, because they're in their car, it's a different sport. You're not really close to each other. And they tried, at Atlanta, they said, we're going to run without fans. I'm like, you know what? Let's run without fans. I really do not want, a NASCAR shutdown, like, for not even a week. And I remember they tried on Saturday. We're going to try on Saturday to try to get it in, get out of here. And then I woke up with the news saying that they canceled. I'm like, oh, are you kidding me? And then they said, it could be 2 weeks. I said, okay, 2 weeks ain't nothing. Then the CDC came out with guidelines say no more people of 50 or more, and I'm like, we're screwed, aren't we? And that's when they announced that it was going to be 2 months, and I'm like, how are we going to survive? Like, what are we going to do? I mean, we got nothing, because you use sports to just get away from the world, all the bad stuff that's going on. Like, you just need something to get away, and we didn't have any of that. We were forced to just stay at home, watch the news, and get updates. Like, there was no sports. We couldn't do anything, and so there was just a lot of questions. Like, are we going to be able to come back? Or what are we going to do? And NASCAR stepped up. They volunteered to become one of the first sports back, and just to try something, see how it goes. And it opened the door for the remaining sports to come back later on down the road. I mean, it's unfortunate that it wasn't a normal race weekend, obviously, but better than nothing. Because those 2 months were just so depressing. Not having anything, not having racing. You just don't know what's going on. Don't know what to do. And NASCAR just the leadership they had through this whole thing to get all 36 races in, including the All-Star race, without having to cancel like everything, like run a complete schedule, get caught up, before the playoffs started. It's just incredible. No other sports were able to do that when they came back. Not even hockey, not even NBA, not even they had to do some things different. Like, they had to make a bubble or cancel the rest of the regular season games. They just had to get the playoffs started and just get out of here, And NASCAR, I know we're never happy sometimes with the decisions they make, with the packages and the playoff formats and just decisions they make. But I cannot hate them for what they were able, all the hard work they put in this year to get us back going. Get some excitement, get some normalcy back in our lives. Just try to be happy again, find something to escape all the stuff that's going on in the world, and for them to get all 36 races in, get the playoffs started, run a full season. It's just incredible, and I applaud NASCAR for all the hard work they've done to get us back.
No, most certainly, just incredible what took place in 2020, and before we wrap this up, I want to get each of your final thoughts just on 2020 and everything that occurred. Steve, I'm going to let you kick this one off.
It was a crazy year for sure. Obviously, things had to change. We were seeing NASCAR race on Wednesdays, and the rain came at every track every week, and nothing normal happened this year, and that's a very common theme across the board for this 2020. So I think like a lot of people throughout the world, I'm just glad that it's coming to an end. Not saying that 2021, right now is going to be looking much better. Hopefully it is. But this 2020, I'm glad it's over.
Wes?
Yeah, a lot of highs and lows, but I think there's a lot to take forward with this when we come to the new season. I think the big one is just kind of the takeaways with how the cars we saw this season are going to impact, I guess, in their last season with the package that we have. We have a lot of new tracks coming that'll make it interesting from this year. A lot of new teams joining. So it's definitely something to look forward to. But I think the year for overall is something that we can take with us into the future, knowing that just some of the positives and negatives to kind of help the sport build in the future. I feel like this was definitely kind of a year to set the path for the future of NASCAR. And I think with that, this was an important year and also maybe a good year in that regard. So I know there were a lot of things that didn't really have a lot of upside, but I think for the most part, this definitely was a year that was important for what we needed to carry on for us and future generations for the sport.
Dalton?
So as a diehard Kyle Busch fan, or basically as the king of Rowdy Nation, I hated the season. I hated every single lap of it, every single minute. I wanted a race from the history books. I never want to think about it ever again, except for Texas. You know, it's 2020 when the only race I actually like this season that I want to remember is a Texas fall race with 72-hour rain delay. Yeah, delete the season from the history books. I don't want to think about it again. A season that will live in infamy. But no, I'm just kidding. Not a good year for Kyle Busch and Rowdy Nation, for sure. But as a fan of the sport, I gotta say, I'll be honest, this is probably the most frustrating season we've had. It's just that I just feel like it was too much this year. You know, like so much happened. It was so much to keep up with. For me, it all got started in Daytona this year. You know, in 2020, there was a lot of hype going into the season. The Daytona 500, you got the president coming, sold out. It's going to be a big event. And we're all excited. We're all amped up, ready to go. And then out of nowhere, it just starts raining. And then we got to wait another day. So that kind of killed the mood for this season. And then the very next day, you know, you had the scare of Ryan Newman after his violent wreck in the Daytona at the finish. And it just brought back those scary 2001 Daytona 500 vibes. I wasn't a fan back when Earnhardt was killed, so I never knew what that feeling was like, you know, when a driver's could be dead. I mean, I remember I went a whole hour and a half without knowing if Ryan Newman was okay or not. Like, as soon as the race was over, I had to leave and get to the airport and go back home. I kept refreshing for updates. And things just didn't look good because, you know, you had the black screens protecting Ryan's car, and it just wasn't a good sign for me at first. And I'm like, just please be okay. I hope I land for some good news. And luckily, as soon as I landed, I get on Twitter, and first thing I see is that Ryan Newman's all right. So first you had that, and then not too long after that, you had the COVID break. Yeah, no racing for 2 months. You had no idea when we're going to come back. We were able to come back, but then it got aggravating with all the rain delays too. It's like every race we tried to get in, there was always a rain delay, and we just could not catch a break at all. I'm like, you know, this started to be annoying. I mean, I know we get a rain delay every single year, but like, it's never been this bad, to be honest with you. Like Texas, for an example, both Charlotte races, Homestead, the nonstop lightning clock delays. Then that was frustrating. Then also you had Bubba Wallace and Kyle Larson incidents. You know, Kyle Larson doing what he did, and also followed by Bubba Wallace. You know, Bubba Wallace just trying to bring good to the sport. You know, I mean, he wants people of all color, religion, race welcome to the track, and you know, I love that. But when the whole news thing happened, you know, you had all these outsiders that are like, he's just faking it. He's a Jussie Smollett 2.0. And the most frustrating part was, you know, you had to defend Bubba Wallace in your sport from people that don't know anything about NASCAR. Like, I remember going on YouTube and people talking about the whole Bubba thing, and every single video began with, I don't know much about NASCAR. And those are just people you had to argue with the whole year, like the whole time. It just got really frustrating to that point too. And, you know, I just feel like I need a break for this season. This is the first time ever I kind of looked forward to the offseason, to be honest with you. It was just too much. But overall, you had like I said, you had NASCAR be one of the first sports back. They busted their tails to make sure they got every single race in. They did whatever they had to do, weekdays, pushback rain delays. I mean, they did everything they could, and they were able to get all 36 races in. But, you know, the only positive thing I could take away from this year is, you know, you start the season off pretty bad, you know, with Ryan Newman near-death experience. And then it was a happy ending with Chase Elliott taking it home, you know, because Chase Elliott, most popular driver in NASCAR, for him to go out, you know, in the season, I think it was a happy feeling. I think we could say, like, everybody's happy with the way it ended. Congratulations, Chase Elliott. I mean, I think he's a deserving champion. I'm really happy he won it too. I mean, good for him, first championship. So I think that's something to look forward to next year. I just hope it's normal as soon as possible. Try to get fans in. Try to get full crowds again. I don't know when that will be, but hopefully we can get back to that and just just try to get back to normal this year. But I'm hoping 2021's a better season, more calm, more relaxed. But just a wild year.
Yeah, definitely. 2020, we started with the president, rain, and near-death experience. And then we had a pandemic. We went to iRacing. We came back at Darlington. And we did so many races, we lost count before getting back to normal for the playoffs. And we had the Hamlin-Harvick domination of the sport. And then at the end, it was NASCAR's most popular driver, Chase Elliott, coming through when it mattered most to win his first Cup Series championship. We started the Ford Field podcast at the beginning of the return of NASCAR at Darlington. And we got about 24, 25 episodes done this season. Hopefully next year we'll have even more. Hopefully we'll have more guests. Loved the guests that we had on this season. Had Dalton on twice. Had the Iceberg, Eric Eastep, Danny B. Talks, Ralph Shaheen. And I just hope we can get some. We're definitely going to get more next year. Love having guests on the show. That's what makes the show. And next year, hopefully we'll just have to do more than 24 episodes as long as we can get all these races in and not have to have 3 races to talk about in a week. But I've just had a blast this year, and I can't wait for 2021 what it has to bring for NASCAR and the Foreign Field podcast. We're looking to expand this podcast even something bigger, and hopefully the goal remains true and we achieve it someday. But wish you all a happy holiday season,
You too.
safe holiday season, and a happy new year as we end this year. I think that's all we've got, and we'll be back hopefully in January with our 2021 NASCAR season preview. Thank you, Dalton, for joining again.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Steve and Wes, for sticking with me the whole season, and can't wait to be back next year. We'll definitely get Dalton back next year as well.
All right.
On
Sounds
the show. So thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next year.